everyone.
Good
morning.
Linda.
And happy 2019. The theme for 2019 is spirituality in action. The principle for January is I learn and embody the science of mind. And today's topic is discovery, alignment, empowerment. Ernest Holmes, in This Thing Called You, on page 3, wrote, It, God, is the invisible essence and substance of every visible form. Its nature is goodness, truth, wisdom, and beauty, as well as energy and imagination. Our highest satisfaction comes from a sense of conscious union with this invisible life. And in The Science of Mind, page 33, he wrote, When we learn to trust the universe, we shall learn to be happy, prosperous, and well. Take a breath and enter the silence within, sensing your union with God. Let's now speak the affirmation for the month with trust in the goodness of life.
I celebrate the presence that is the basic reality of all life and the power that is mine to use for true personal and global transformation.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. Woohoo! Thank you, Linda. So, my friends, are you ready for a year of miracles?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Well, this entire year is devoted to just that. And we begin in January with this whole idea of embodying these beautiful spiritual teachings that have been laid out before us. And again, for those of you who are newer, Ernest Holmes was a synthesizer of, all the world's religions, the mystical teachings. He was a synthesizer of philosophy, so he was a great student of life and of the new sciences that were coming in that were supporting what the mystics had taught for so many years. He was a man who was interested in making it practical, not just theoretical, and that's what I really love about him. And so when we talk about miracles, we're talking about coming to an awareness, or actually a belief or a trust in something greater than ourselves. So we must first believe that there is a power and intelligence that is capable of making miracles. And not only little miracles, big miracles. And for many of us, a big miracle would be really valuable in our lives right now. And also in the greater good of humanity and what's going on in our planet, big miracles are being called for there as well. So here's the thing that I keep going back to and I keep reminding myself, is that the same power and presence, the same God life presence that created this vast and amazing universe, and we are hearing multiverses, that are so beyond our human comprehension. I mean, even just this particular universe, when we think about how it started, which they say was from some teeny tiny thing that was microscopic and burst into being. Now, this is the latest theory of the Big Bang theory, and then became this universe full of stars and cosmic dust and planets and galaxies and it's ever expanding into the cosmos. The same power that created that, and is continually creating that, is the same power that we use when we think, when we pray affirmatively, when we set our intention, when we focus our attention. It's the same one. It's the same miracle making power. That's the realization that we come to. That's the beginning of how we begin to have a miracle making attitude or consciousness toward life. And miracles, here's the thing, miracles are manifestations of two things. This is what is so powerful. Inspiration from the universal mind of God itself, that love of God, that intelligence of God moving in us, through us, and as us, and the action of an all-powerful universal law. And so those things that we call miracles, even really big miracles, are all actions of love and law. The inspiration of the divine and the universal law of God. And in this teaching, Ernest Holmes calls it the science of mind. And when he says mind, he means the universal mind of God, the laws of God, understanding what the laws of God are. And in the Science of Mind textbook, he says the practice of science of mind calls for a positive understanding of the spirit of truth, a willingness to let this inner spirit guide us with the conscious knowledge that the law of the Lord is perfect. It's infallible. It truly produces what we believe. It's done unto us as we believe, said the great spiritual master. Yes? And he used the power of his word to demonstrate how miracles and healings and things like that took place. So spirituality in action. What a great theme. And this is not just our theme here in our center. This is the theme of all of the centers for spiritual living all over the world this year. There is a real impetus in our movement. I want to give you just a little history. In the early days of New Thought, back in the times of Phineas Parkhurst Quimby in the mid-1800s, when there was a discovery of the power of the word and the power of belief to heal. I mean, it was actually a continuation, really, of Jesus's healing techniques and stuff, but there was a discovery of how that worked. There's the subconscious mind and there's the conscious mind, and the conscious mind can implant the subconscious mind that we could call the law, the universal law, with new ideas, and they would be produced in manifest form. So it started off as a healing ministry. It then became realized that you could apply it to all areas of your life, to realize your dreams, to heal your relationships, to heal your financial issues. That really it applies to every area of life. And then there was this new part of the movement that was right around the year 2000 to be more proactive in the world. So compassion and service. And now the impetus in the past few years has been social action, to take action in the world, not just to keep this for ourselves, but to truly bring these intentions, this teaching that we have, out into the greater community to support the healing of the planet and this new the birthing of this new universal human that we're becoming, who understand who we are more fully in relationship to God, that we are truly, as Jesus said, ye are God's children of the Most High. He was empowering people. He was saying, you are blessed with the gift of creation. So let's use it, and let's use it wisely. So
heaven on earth.
Yeah, heaven on earth. That's what we keep talking about. So this requires action. And so step one in action is interaction. Action on our own consciousness, up-leveling ourselves with meditation, with affirmative prayer, with visioning. We have a process called visioning where we catch God's highest idea in a state of meditation for our lives or for a project or whatever. So action in our own consciousness is the first stage. And the next one is action by doing what we're guided to do, listening to the still small voice within, that voice of God that's guiding us on our path and is letting us know what the next step is toward our dream or toward our vision or toward our intention. And so, again, we are not going to fulfill this beautiful thing that we keep saying week after week, that we are here to be the presence of love and co-create heaven on earth, unless we put some action to our words, unless we truly bring it into our daily lives, into our workplaces, into the greater community. Action on all levels. So you and I'm inviting all of us to live in this question this year. What is mine to do? What is mine to do? And listen and know that if it's something really kind of blows your mind, you know, Spirit, you really want me to do that, to realize that you are given all of the spiritual gifts to be able to accomplish these things. So when you think of the role models of spirituality in action, who do you think of? Dalai Lama? Desmond Tutu? Who? Gandhi?
Jesus.
Jesus? Martin Luther King? Buddha? Thank you.
Yay.
Right, and there are many, many more. I mean, all of us in our own way. And Tom, Michelle says Tom. All of us in our own way are spirituality in action when we live according to our highest values and when we let our heart guide us. So there are many great role models of that. So how about Malala? Anybody hear of Malala? She's actually the spiritual hero of the Science of Mind magazine for 2018. She was featured in the December issue, or maybe it's in the January issue. Anyway, she's the one who was chosen. And Malala, wow, this young woman is inspirational. She attended a girls' school in her village of Swat, Pakistan, all the way until she was age 11. And her father ran the school. He ran it, and he was the teacher of all the children. And it was a girls' school, which was a really big deal in Pakistan. And then suddenly in 2008, the Taliban came through. And they banned girls' schools along with television and music and dancing or a lot of these other things too, but they banned girls' schools. It was against the law, according to them, against spiritual law. And so what happened is something got activated in this young woman. Something got activated. It was probably anger and rage, and which is totally appropriate when our boundaries are being broken. But it was the kind that she was able to turn into getting out there and speaking on behalf of girls' education in Pakistan, even in the midst of the Taliban threatening her life. And one day in 2012, she was in a group of people, and a gunman came up and shot her in the head. And many of you probably remember these headlines back in 2012. And her family rushed her to be treated in a hospital in England, quite a distance. But she recovered in England. They established their home in England. But this, after she recovered, it took her like 2 years to fully recover. When she recovered in 2014, she came through stronger than ever on behalf of girls' schools, and not this time, not just Pakistan, but girls' schools around the entire planet. She became a spokesperson at the age of 15. Young, young. And then she won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, the youngest to ever win the Peace Prize. And you know where she sent her money, her prize money for the Peace Prize? Anybody know? She built a girls' school in her hometown of Swat in Pakistan, even in the midst of the ban. And they continued on, even in the midst of all of that. And she was able to actually visit her school in 2018, March 2018, 6 years after her attack. And she was there just for a visit and then left. But one schoolgirl said, when girls like us go to school in SWAT, the only reason is Malala. She defeated fear in SWAT. This is a comment that she made that I think is so powerful. And again, I'm emphasizing her because she is a great example, an everyday example of when somebody gets activated, the entire power of the universe is behind her. The presence and power of God is behind her, and we all have that possibility. But here's what she said. The terrorists thought they would change and stop my ambitions, but nothing has changed except this. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness have died. Strength, power, and courage were born. Powerful young woman. Powerful. So she now attends Oxford University studying philosophy, politics, and economics, and continues to travel the world advocating for education for the more than 130 million girls across the planet who are still unschooled. And here's the thing, is research has been done on this, and this was spoken about at the Parliament of World's Religions when I attended it recently. That if every girl worldwide received 12 years of education, just a minimum of 12 years, the lifetime earnings for women would increase 15 trillion to 20 to 30 trillion. Did you hear that? 15 to 30 trillion dollars women's earnings would increase with just 12 if all girls received 12 years of education. And you know, the emphasis on girls, and why is this? And here's why, because they have found that girls with secondary education are more likely to participate in decision making, not only in the home, but in their communities. They feel empowered to speak out and to contribute. And also in countries where women are empowered, there is less civil conflict or war when they're empowered and when they're educated. Because one of the things that was pointed out at the parliament is that that poverty, if you look at poverty, who's involved in poverty, it is women and children worldwide when you look at the statistics. These are the ones who are touched most by it. So what she is standing for is a transformation of consciousness on the planet. And it's something called gender equity, realizing that males and females have equity. Dan pointed out to me there's a difference between equality and equity. Are any of you aware of that? I don't know if he has that, but you know, the thing is gender equity, well, there is a difference. Equality would mean, do you have that graphic, Dan? This is really an interesting thing. So in equality, no matter how tall somebody is, you know, trying to reach the good in life, they're given the exact same thing, right? The same size box. But in equity, the shorter person is given more boxes to be able to reach the apple. Do you see how that is? So equity means that we're compensating for wherever anybody is. There's an awareness that we want to do what's necessary to support everybody in receiving the good of life. That's why I love this teaching, because it helps to provide equity when we learn how to use the universal laws, when we learn how to establish our divine connection. When we learn that, then we become empowered to make a difference in our own lives and in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ah. So the thing is that gender equity then listen to this, these statistics. Gender equity is a stronger predictor of peace than democracy, religion, or gross national product. Wow. A stronger predictor of peace. If we want peace in the world, that is a powerful direction to go to ensure education of all women on the planet as well as men. But it's for all. So Malala's life is an example of a miracle making attitude. She was activated by a passion that drove her, and because she was so focused, her intention, her attention, her thoughts, her words, everything was so focused on what was passionate about that the universal law supported her. Divine wisdom poured through. She's been guided and directed and supported in all ways. And she is not the exception. She is the example, just as Jesus is the example of these great beings, are the examples of what is possible in our lives. So the law of creation. I'm returning back and rereading my book called A Shortcut to a Miracle. Beautiful book. And the laws of creation are this: consciousness manifests. That's number one. And number two, our dominant thought prevails. Think about Malala. What was her dominant thought? What would you guess? Girls' schools, girls' schools, girls' schools, girls' schools, right? That was her dominant thought. And consciousness manifests. What we plant in our consciousness is what manifests. So we are the thinkers in our own world. These are just the basic principles. We choose the thoughts that we think, and thus we are the creator of our thought patterns. Okay? Our dominant thought patterns manifest in our lives. So I'm just going to take you through this whole thing logically so we can see how this works. We want to eliminate thoughts that deny our good or the good of others, and we want to create patterns that establish our good. Eliminate thought patterns that deny our good, doubt out faith in its place is one of the things we say around here, and establish thought patterns that support our good. Our good is what we desire that does not interfere with anyone else's good. And once we accept that we are entitled to have good happening in our lives, the good we define for ourselves becomes a reality in our minds. And what happens once it becomes a reality in our minds, we can see it, we can feel it, we can touch it in our own mind, then the doorway is wide open for manifestation. And the universe fully supports us each and every step of the way. We are wired for miracles. We are wired for miracles because of who we are. Individualizations of the Most High God, children of the Most High. And so the guidance that we receive once we catch the vision is supporting us in moving in that direction of our dreams. So here it is, and so I'm going to tie this back into the title. So let us discover, there's the discover, the amazing miracle-making power that we have available to us. Let us align our thinking with what we want. And the more that we do that, the more we align our thinking with what we want and with spiritual truth, the more fully empowered we become to transform our lives and to be a catalyst for the transformation of other people's lives on the planet. Malala stands as a great example along with all the other greats. And so I just invite all of you to take a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself the question, what is mine to do? What is mine to do? Just asking that question gets the creative process going. Let's take a breath. Let's accept it as a new seed planted in our own consciousness. And even if we didn't hear it, just dropping into the silence gets things going. And let's invite it into our lives with a vibrant, yes, and so it is. All right.